Erica, I want to turn to you because I know that you're working with the organization Patriotic Millionaires. And when I read that title, I was just immediately asking 1,000 questions, like, what is that? What is the story behind Patriotic Millionaires? Could I ask you to tell us a bit about that? And then I'll ask a follow-up question as well, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely. So nice to be on this panel with you all, and we're going to be talking more about this wealth tax. So thank you so much to UNDP for everything you're doing. I heard at the end of the session last night, the moderator referred to taxes as sexy, and it made me really, really happy because I've been trying to convince people that taxes are sexy for 13 years. And then we had Alex today from Tax Justice talk about how you all are superheroes and people who work in the tax space are superheroes. So a big round of applause to all the sexy superheroes in the room. And I would love for y'all to just take a look around and look at each other, because the people in this room are sexy superheroes and we have to succeed. So let's join our superhero powers together, because if we don't, as my husband likes to say, it's not like it's not like the sun's gonna lose a planet, okay? What's at risk is people and human beings, and the people in this room and our families and our friends in our society. So the work that you do, anytime I tell somebody I work on tax policy, I feel like I'm inducing situational narcolepsy, because they make it intentionally boring so that people don't pay attention to the level at which just the average human being is getting completely toasted by the richest people in the country for no discernible reason. And so let me just talk a little bit about how the Patriotic Millionaires first came together. It was during the lame duck session of Congress in 2010. And it became really clear that President Obama was going to cave to Republican demands to extend the Bush tax cuts. And it just absolutely pissed me off that a Democratic president coming in on a hopey-changey message was going to basically immediately kowtow to demands to keep things exactly how they are. And so I got a couple of millionaires I know. We wrote a very brief letter that basically said, for the good of the country, raise my taxes. 56 people signed that letter, including Morris Pearl, who is our chairman, who is here today. And I had the audacity of naming them the Patriotic Millionaires. And I think it was that name that made this effort explode in the media. People could not believe that there were a bunch of millionaires who wanted to pay higher taxes. And as Morris will tell you, this was not a charitable exercise. Morris likes to say, and I think this is true, he says, I'm not any more altruistic than the next guy. I'm just greedy for a different kind of country. And I happen to believe that paying taxes is fundamental to getting the kind of country that I want to live in. So this is not asking for charity from rich people. This is setting things right that have been wrong for a very long time. And so in 2010, this group of 56 people came together. They signed this letter. I called them the Patriotic Millionaires. Now, why did I do that? I did that for a very specific reason, which is the right, the conservative movement in America has been telling people the same story for a long time. It's your money. You made it all by yourself. And now the government is coming in and stealing it and giving it to undeserving poor people who are probably Black. There is racism inherent in their story. There is privilege, elitism, and a sense that this is the way things should be. And so I wanted to challenge that root premise. And I wanted to reassert in the public narrative that paying taxes is fundamentally part of your patriotic duty. And frankly, it's embarrassing to all of us, for the richest people in our countries, to bitch about it as much as they do. Okay, so own your sexy superhero power, and the next time you see a rich person complaining about, oh my God, the undue burden that they have forced to carry, please just immediately call them on it. Anyway, so how did things unfold? So we exploded in the media, we got a lot of attention, but we just had a letter signed by 56 people. We didn't have an organization that could do anything about it. So over the next few years, Morris eventually quit his job at BlackRock after an experience dealing with the bailouts of the Greek banks that he can tell you about, that he talks about in our book, Tax the Rich. He joined me and we became partners in this endeavor. And the mission of the Patriotic Millionaires, we now have a few hundred members around the United States. The mission of the Patriotic Millionaires is to reform the country's political economy so that it delivers the results you need for a stable, prosperous nation. I don't know if you all have ever played Jenga that wooden block game. You take the blocks out of the bottom, you load them on the top, what's gonna happen? At some point in that game, the tower of wooden blocks falls over. It is a predictable and definitional end to the structure of society as we have set it up. So we want to prevent economic Jenga. We started with the tax issue with this very narrow, don't extend the Bush tax cuts for incomes over $1 million. And eventually looking at how the political economy of the United States is structured, we realized that that was not sufficient. So what we work on now is 3 core things. Number 1, a tax system that demands that the wealthiest people in the country pay the country what they owe the country. Number 2, that you pay people something they can actually live on. What a novel idea. And the third is that you distribute political power such that the distortions we currently see do not happen again. Because ultimately, as we've talked about here, this is a question of power. So when you sum up our mission, it's quite simple. Tax the rich, pay the people, spread the power. That is the way to build a stable, reasonable society that the vast majority of people would like to live in. So what do we do for the work that we do? Number 1, we talk to the media endlessly. And as it turns out, if you're a wealthy person with as part of an organization called something as audacious as the Patriotic Millionaires, when you say something that everybody else already knows, people cover it in the media. And so the Patriotic Millionaires get an enormous amount of media attention and therefore can drive a public narrative from a unique voice challenging their peer group on the nonsense they come up with to justify a system that is not working for the vast majority of people in our country or in the world. So we talk to the media. Number 2, we argue with lawmakers endlessly. So our members give a lot of money in politics. They use the leverage that they are afforded by those contributions to talk directly to lawmakers about the critical role that it is their responsibility to fix this system. It is their responsibility to put aside the personal needs and wants of the donor class in order to structure a society that works for all of us. And the third thing that we do, which we just started about a year ago, is recognizing that our country has become so gerrymandered, things are drawn so that the elected leaders are selecting their voters rather than the voters selecting their leaders. So we're going deep into Trump country. I'm going to leave here today, and tomorrow I'm going to go to a little town in Western PA that loves Trump, loves him, loves MAGA, and these are working class folks. And we are going into small working class towns all over the country to talk to them about the way the economy is rigged against them and the power that these folks have to help change this. A few years ago, we were approached by Oxfam, which has been an absolutely incredible partner organization. They said if we could get a voice like yours on the international stage, that would be incredibly helpful to our efforts, because so much of, this whole conference is about how my plumber talks about water. Water is going to find a way to get in, and money is going to find a way to avoid taxes. So, this is a global exercise. So we started doing a protest at Davos every year. Davos, right? Come on, people. Okay, who y'all remember? The best line that ever came out of Davos was a few years ago when Rutger Bregman said, taxes, 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 everything else is bullshit, in response to Michael Dell, doing this, like, what country has ever succeeded with 70% tax rates? And Rutger Bregman, a Dutch historian, said, the United States, you ding dong, and so anyway, this is all about taxes. So we started doing some protests in Davos, and then we eventually opened a UK chapter of the Patriotic Millionaires. So we now have the Patriotic Millionaires of the UK, and they're following the same model that we're following. Talk to the media endlessly and fuss at lawmakers, because it's their responsibility to fix this problem. What I tell the folks in these small towns that I'm talking to is that your lawmakers, if they are talking to you about something other than money, they are stealing your money. What we have to do in this country is draw the working class's attention away from transgender athletes and any number of social issues and draw their attention back to money. This is about money. And somebody said earlier that this system is broken. The system isn't broken. The system is rigged. And there's a fundamental difference in those two things. You can break a glass by accidentally knocking it over. You rig an economy by paying off lawmakers and getting the policies put in place that you want. And so approach our work, I would encourage all of us to approach our work with moral and fiscal certainty. Okay, our planet cannot survive. If rich people go off and buy planes every time they make another million, there goes the planet. Buy houses, now people don't have houses. You know, we are on a doom loop that is going to destroy everything that we believe in and love. And I think it is essential that we can collect a small group of people and have them have a very loud voice to try to affect this. So we have a UK chapter now. We've got the US team going. If any of y'all have access to people of wealth who have the same values as the people in this room, we would love to talk about expanding this work, because it's very critical that we drive a different narrative.
Erica,
And
thank you so much.
Thank you.